Hello everyone and welcome to the Arbor Farm. In today's episode I want to show you how you can take your bounty of tomatoes and turn them into a shelf-stable storage of sun-dried tomatoes. Let's get started. Sun-dried tomatoes are great in salads, in pasta sauces, and on pizza in a variety of ways. However you normally enjoy tomatoes, making them sun-dried will allow you to increase their shelf life and maximize that for storage. And using them later in the winter will bring you such delight and make your taste buds go boing. How do you store your sun-dried tomatoes? Well, there are a variety of ways you can store them. I want to give you a look at it close up. These are ones that we did a few days ago. How they came out are just gorgeous. The dark red color, and they are really dry and nice and ready for storage. You can keep them in just a jar in your cupboard. They are shelf stable at this point if they are fully dried. If they're not fully dried, you risk the chance of mold growing on them, and so the refrigerator or freezer might be a better option if you're concerned about mold. We stick ours in a jar and put them in the refrigerator for the season just as a precaution, but we can use them all throughout the winter and enjoy the flavor of fresh tomatoes that have been sun-dried right in our food. It's important to consider what kind of tomato is appropriate to use for sun-dried tomatoes. You probably won't want to use your big behemoth like this one, just for the fact of the matter that it is simply too big and too juicy. We tend to defer to smaller tomatoes like these that work well. A cherry tomato, for example, is great, and we even like to use our little spoon tomatoes. The kids are really fond of spoon tomatoes, and they are so small. They work really well for sun-dried tomatoes. The other kind that works well for sun-dried tomatoes is a Roma tomatoes, because they're not as juicy and they dry out quickly in the sun. So those are some options, but if you have other varieties that you like to use for sun-dried tomatoes, let us know. Stick a comment below and we would love to hear from you as to the varieties that you like to use. So two things: you want to choose one that's probably somewhat small in size and one that does not have so much juice to it, one that is a little on the naturally dry side. And those are the two criteria for choosing your best tomatoes for sun drying. The other thing that you need to make sun-dried tomatoes the way that we do is a window screen. And when our kids heard that I was gonna make this video, they said, "Hey Mom, are you gonna tell them that you took our window screen out of our bedroom window to do this project?" Well, there you have it. Out of the mouth of babes. So a window screen works, and that's just so that when you put your tomatoes on it, they can get air circulation from the top and the bottom, and that will allow them to become sun-dried very quickly. And so you want to clean your window screen, of course. This is one that we've already used, and I need to get the seeds off of it so that we can use it again today for our project. So we just use a little dish soap and put that on there. And you could use a rag, or we have a scrub brush that we like to use just to help spread that around. And then we're gonna give it a good hose down. All right, the key is that you want it nice and clean so that you feel comfortable sticking your tomatoes on there, and then you potentially will be eating them afterwards. So make sure it's nice and clean. If you're taking a window screen out of storage, you want to make sure it's free of dirt, debris, cobwebs, everything like that. So scrub it until you are satisfied. You might be saying to yourself, I'd really like to make sun-dried tomatoes, but I don't want to use a window screen from my house, or I don't have access to one. And there are a variety of other things that you can do. It just needs to be something that allows air to circulate on the top and the bottom for the best results, because your tomatoes are going to be sitting on there in the bright sun, and then the air circulating helps them to dry more rapidly rather than molding. And so you could create a frame with some wood that you have laying around. You could buy a roller screen and staple that to your frame that you've built. You could use some craft tool and make a frame with that. That would also allow the air to penetrate through. So that's the goal. It doesn't have to be a window screen. It could be something that you create DIY that would allow the air to flow through. So next we want to show you how we put our tomatoes on here and in the sun, and how to get them ready to be sun-dried. We are on the southwest side of our house here. Not so great for making a video, but exactly where we need to be for making sun-dried tomatoes. So I'm going to show you here what we do. We have a hot tub, or you could just use a table. But this is what we have on the back of our house. And so I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you what we've done to make this work. Here's what we do to prepare our screen. We just have some scrap wood that we're using, 2x4s or pallet pieces, and we've laid those out, and we place our screen on top of those. So I have each end supported, and then a piece for the middle there, and it works really well. That holds our screen up and allows air circulation on both the top and the bottom so that the tomatoes dry out rapidly. We have our sliced tomatoes ready to go, and we're using Roma, which are sliced nice and thin. We also have some cherry tomatoes, which we slice in 3 pieces to get them nice and thin. 1 on each end and then the middle piece. And we have our nice little spoon tomatoes. So as thin as possible, as far as the slicing is concerned, provides the best results. We can begin laying out our tomatoes on the screen, and we should use just a single layer thickness, and that will give us the best results, again, allowing us to maximize the sun and the air circulation. So here we go. All right, our tomatoes are all laid out. We like to fill up our screen whenever we're sun drying tomatoes, just to maximize our time and the space. But you can check on them regularly to make sure that they're doing well, and it could take 2 to 3 days depending on the sun and the temperature outside. Once your sun-dried tomatoes have achieved their desired doneness, they are fully dried, such as this tomato. You can take them inside and store them in a jar with a lid, put them in the refrigerator, put them in the freezer, and enjoy them however you'd like all throughout the winter. If you suspect that there is any moisture content at all left in your tomatoes, you should not remove them from the screen for sun drying. That will allow mold or bacteria to grow, and you certainly don't want that in your tomatoes. The other thing is we also like to take our screen in after the sun goes down and put it in a safe place just so pests don't get at it. And if we have another day or two left, that we still need to include some drying time. And so that might be a helpful tip for you to take that inside and put it in a safe place where pests won't get at it in the evening time. One of the main factors that you want to consider when sun drying tomatoes is the weather. After all, the weather matters for sun-dried tomatoes. Obviously, you're going to want it as sunny as possible. So look at the forecast for 1, 2, 3 days in a row that are going to be nice and sunny all day. That's exactly what you want. You don't want overcast, you don't want high humidity, because those will just ruin your batch and your batch will go bad. So a sunny day is what you need to make your sun-dried tomatoes. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. Our goal is to make content that's helpful to you, and we like to ask you to click the like button and subscribe to our channel so that you can receive notifications when we publish the next content. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.